think, I think comedy got big because there were so many restrictions of what people can say, and comedians kind of like pushed that barrier. Dave Chappelle did that a lot.
Sure.
Whether, the content that he put out was appealing to you or appealing at all, or some people might not find it funny. Some people find it hilarious. It's like he pushed the envelope. And then people are like, well, you're not supposed to say that. You can't say that. I want to listen. You know what I mean? Like, you want to listen to things that are taboo. That's why when comedians, most of the time, especially early on comedians, you talk a lot about sexual content because it's
easy.
taboo, right? You're not supposed to talk about it. And so I think when things got a lot more censored, comedians started rising to the top because they were talking about things that you're not supposed to, and that caught a lot of attention. And then that with the combination of podcasting, now
peanut butter. I feel like comedians and podcasting go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, because you just want to be part of the hang. Like, you see these guys, they're in the middle of the stage. They're like so cool, and they're like talking this, that, and the other, and like, man, I wish I could be friends with them. Well, now you can just listen to them every week. You could be friends with them.
Fly on the wall in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. And so I think those combination of those two, and I don't want to say it's too saturated because I don't think it is. I just think it's so big right now. Like, I mean, freaking Shane Gillis just broke another record, I think, for the Rocket Mortgage Stadium.
Right. Yeah.
Really?
17,000 people in attendance for a comedy show.
Oh.
Nuts. I saw him when he was in town.
Yeah, I know. He's
a monster.
He's one of my favorites.
I literally just listened to the 5-hour Protect Our Parks the other day.
Oh, I haven't got to that yet. I love those.
Dude,
I love
my
those.
favorite. I love them.
And the Regs. You ever listen to the Regs? Oh man, the Regs. The Regs is Bobby Kelly, Dan Soder, Joe List, and Louis J. Gomez.
Oh, I love all those guys.
They're very funny. They have their own podcast. They release like every 2 weeks or once a month. They're still debating on it.
Okay.
And very, very funny stuff.
It's just I love the hang.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what we wanted to kind of create with this show. I mean, me and Pat, when we were talking about starting the show, it was like, okay, we're both in real estate. We want to do a real estate podcast. Dude, it's going to be
shit.
Yeah.
Like, dude, nobody wants to listen to that. I mean, I'm in real estate, and that's what I do all day, every day. And like, there's a couple of real estate podcasts I'll listen to occasionally, but it's not like my regular listen to, and I'm never like pumped to listen to it because it's always like I feel like I'm doing homework or something,
Yeah.
And whereas all the podcasts I listen to are just like hangs, and like, it's either ones that you're either learning something or you're just being entertained.
Absolutely.
And, so I mean, that's kind of what we wanted to do here, and just kind of make our guests very diverse and like people that are doing cool shit.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs mostly and business owners, but like people that just are doing extravagant or crazy extravagant things. Like, we've had a guy on that hiked the entire Appalachian Trail. We had a guy on that literally rollerbladed across America from Venice Beach to Times Square.
That's nuts.
Did that in like 40 something days. Crazy. They made a documentary. It's like hasn't come out yet, but they're like trying to get it put on whatever platform right now, I think. And, cool. Like, so I mean, but ranges from people like that to stand-up comedians to people that own restaurants to whatever. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah. Unique people, risk takers, people that are just kind of taking a risk on themselves. I think that's really cool. And I mean, real estate investing is a big risk too.
For sure.
You don't want to like, completely separate that from who you truly are, because that's like your main source of income. That's probably like what you spend a lot of the most time with. But you're right. There's already Brett Daniels. There's already Jamil. They're always like, there's so many real estate podcasts out there that it's just like, if you can combine a little bit of everything, what you guys like, I think.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, it's not like we don't talk about real estate. Like, there's every once in a while we'll do an episode where it's just the two of us, and we would mix it in, once every.
Sure.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's now, especially now that we're switching up game plan. We're doing 4 guests a month, 4 episodes of just him and I. Now we're doing 6 guests and 2 episodes. So like the episodes that we're doing, we got our book of the month that we do a book, read a book,
oh, nice.
Which is fun and
forces us to read.
Yeah, it does. It forces us. It's a good habit.
All right, you reading or you listening?
Both.
All right.
Yeah, it just depends. Like,
it doesn't matter though.
Right.
Yeah,
if I get like good information
toward the end
I'll
of the
tell
month,
you
that I'm a
this.
little little behind. I'll buy the audiobook.
Yeah.
I think reading is less productive than listening.
Well, because you can with listening,
Listen
you can
and do
do
shit.
You can do so
things.
much.
Oh yeah.
Like people always like, you should read it. You're not. Are you reading or are you listening?
Dude, it's the same shit.
You're still
Come on,
consuming the information.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like you can.
Well, and that's the thing. Some people can't comprehend when they're sitting down reading the book. Other people can comprehend better when they're listening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, I like the reading aspect of it. I feel like I comprehend it better because, like you said, you can be productive while listening to things, and I kind of like drowns out in the background. And so for me, I would rather sit down and take the time to like, hey, I'm gonna go read for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get more out of that than I'm gonna.
No,
listen.
there is something about like you exercising your brain to sit down and read. I like listening to audiobooks when I'm driving because I used to listen to podcasts a lot and a lot of comedy podcasts, and it was great, but it was just like, man, like I can take so much better time when I'm driving if I'm listening to audiobooks. So now I'm like, maybe once in a while I'll listen to a podcast, comedy podcast, but it's mostly just like audiobooks. I'm listening to this book right now by Matthew Dix called Storyworthy. And this is like the second time I've listened to it. And it's just how to tell a good story. And then he has a second one that I haven't got to yet, that it's how to allow stories to help your business. Because that's pretty much how you stand out. Because everybody can share the same information. But if you can sell it in the sense of a story, I think it's a lot more memorable and a lot more impactful to get your point across as opposed to just, a slideshow or just telling the
Story sell, man.
Yeah, story
Well,
sell.
What's one of the biggest points you picked up from that first book so far?
This one is mostly about how to tell a good story. So there's a lot of intricacies on how to tell a good story. My biggest takeaway, and I've been doing this for about a month now consistently, is at the end of the day, write down 3 things that happened to you that day. And it has been so impactful, not only because I am able to recall little things that happened that day that I will inevitably forget tomorrow. And if I look back to it, I'm like, man, that was a nice little moment that I had with my fiance. And I would have never remembered that if I didn't write that down. So it really allows me to remember the little things. It allows me to slow down time because now I can have more of a grasp of time because I'm able to recall these little moments. And
What was it? Did you smoke her acid up down? Game?
No, dude.
Yeah.
We play Killer Queen, and she's actually pretty nasty at Killer Queen.
Okay.
The third one is writing down little things that have happened in my day has been like, it has been able to unlock so many stories that have happened in my life because it's like I'm exercising the part of my brain of recalling. I'm recalling just the short things that happened that day, but now I'm like thinking of stories that have happened to me like when I was 14. I'm like, bro, I haven't thought about that in years. And now I'm like, how did that come up? And that has been really impactful for me just to be able to recall little things throughout the day. It's kind of changed my perspective of time, changed my perspective of like what I should be able to appreciate throughout the day, whether it's little or big. And yeah, it's been a game changer.
Well, and
Awesome.
I'm sure that probably helps with your writing too, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, coming up with bits and stuff.
Yeah, because the funniest bits literally happen when you're like, it's so small. Like the funniest bits are so small and you just like dissect it and
Just a
deep,
little idea that you just kind of
or something
unfold,
small
right?
that happened. Like, okay, I was talking to my fiance. She called me an idiot, but I was talking to my fiance. I have a scar on my hand here, and she was like, "Whatever happened to you there?" And it's like, I told her, "Well, that's a punctuation that happened when I climbed a fence in Colombia." And she said, "A what?" Like, a punctuation. It's like, that's not it. It's like,
The
yeah.
right word.
And she's like, punctuation, that's the end of a sentence. And I'm like, yeah, that's the end of the story. There's nothing else. I got punctuation that I've been doing here. And she was like, no, it's punctured, not punctuation. And then she said, she was messing with me, but she was like, you idiot. And I'm like, you know what? You calling me an idiot hurt a lot more than the punctuation that happened to me here. And like, that was such a real moment because I was dead on, like honest, like, yeah, it's the punctuation. And it's just like those moments are like small and somebody might just like overlook it.
Kind of poke fun at yourselves.
Yeah. But that's not like a big, huge story. And then I can talk about bits about how I'm not a smart guy. And then I can go into a rabbit hole of self-deprecation. Now I'm on the train of saying the wrong words. And then just go into a rabbit hole of that. And then now I'm looking for these things. So it does help a lot with comedy.
I really like the idea of writing them down. Because I have a Post-it note on my mirror in my bathroom. Like, it just says, what went well today? So, like, every night when I'm brushing my teeth, it reminds me, like, sit there while I'm brushing my teeth. I just sit there and think about, all right, what went well today? But I think that's just what you're doing is just taking it a step further and just trying to, like, and actually, like, writing down 3 things.
Yeah.
Because, you can sit there and think about it, but are you going to remember that?
Right. I'm not going to remember it. I'm just
looking
thinking
back
about it
on
it right now. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that was a good phone call I had. I really liked the way I handled that. The podcast we recorded today, I thought we went really well. Whatever. I'm just sitting there thinking about for the, minute I'm sitting there brushing my teeth, doing what you're doing, better.
Yeah, and what I do is I put a reminder on my phone to come up at the time that I'm probably going to go to bed. It's more or less around like 9:30. It's at 9:30, and usually I'm either out or I'm not. If I'm not, I'm probably going to bed by like 10 o'clock. And instead of doom scrolling, I'm like, that notification pops in. It's like, okay, what happened today? And yeah, it's really nice.
You just like write that in a journal, and you do it
on my notes, my notes app. And
is that how you do all your writing?
I do all of my writing on my WhatsApp. I write to myself. So just in case if I ever lose my phone, I know notes are backed up. But like if I send myself text messages, WhatsApp is, as long as I have WhatsApp, because with WhatsApp, I can do it on my phone. And I also have the WhatsApp app on my computer. So I can type stuff out. So then when I have an idea for my WhatsApp, then I'll bring it to my Google Docs and I have all my jokes on a Google Docs. And then I'll write stuff out on my Google Docs. And then if I have sets, I go to my notes and that's where I have the sets that I'm working out. Yeah. So then I have a process of like from WhatsApp. If it's a good idea, then I write it to Google Docs. And then if it makes it to a set, then I put it on my notes. So then it's
like a chain. I think it's so interesting because I've listened to a ton of comedy podcasts. It just seems like everybody does it differently.
Yeah. Everybody does it different. Like when I write jokes, I have to write every word down exactly how I'm supposed to say it. And then I can weave even in and out of those bits. But some guys, it's like
bullet points or whatever.
It's just like, cow. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to talk about my bit about the cow. And I'm like, that's good. That's awesome. And everybody's different. There's no right way or wrong way. It's just, it's whatever works for you. I like to see it as just like, okay, this is the setup. This is the punchline. This is where people are supposed to laugh. Now I have this bit. Okay. Now I can weave in and out of, I can add stuff to it. I can go into this direction. I can go this angle, this, that, and the other. Once I have a structure of it. Until I have that, I can just go up there and riff, but it's a different muscle. It's like you got a riffing muscle, you have a writing muscle. It's a completely different face of comedy that you do, and some people create material in